Okay, sticking on the drama and the theatrics, who was Nathaniel Branden?
Oh, yes.
Can you take me through the arc of Ayn Rand's relationship with Nathaniel Branden to their dramatic falling out in 1968?
Yes. So after the Fountainhead is auctioned to be is sold to be a film. So Ayn Rand moves to Hollywood, where she's going to help in the writing of the film. She wants a lot of creative control, and then she's also still working in screenwriting and things like this. And so she gets a letter from there's a Canadian student who's written to her several times, and then he writes again and he says, "I'm at UCLA," and she's like, "Young man, you're so full of error. Why don't you come visit me and I'll straighten you out?" And so he comes and they have this real meeting of the minds. They talk all night. He comes again. He brings his girlfriend. She loves him. And they start this very intense relationship of spending every weekend at her house, basically, staying up all night, talking about ideas. He becomes completely converted to the objectivist worldview. Rand begins counseling him and his girlfriend about their relationship. Very intense thing. Then eventually they graduate from college and they both enroll in a graduate program in Columbia and they leave. And after they've left, Ayn Rand is just bereft. And within a few months, she packs up her home and she moves to New York.
Mhm.
Here I am. I like New York better. And so that becomes the seedbed of the collective. And the Brandons, they get married. They change their name to Brandon. They've never publicly spoken on this, but many people have pointed out it has the word Rand in the name. So it's some type of acknowledgement of how important she is to them. And time goes on and romantic feelings develop between Ayn Rand and Nathaniel Branden, who's some 20 years her junior. And they discuss them and they realize that rationality has led them to the conclusion that they should be lovers.
Right.
Right. They've rationally decided this. But because they're rational, they need the consent, or at least to inform their partners.
They're both married.
They're both married. So they call a meeting and they obtain the consent, or maybe simply inform the others of the rationality of the choice. And then they say, but this is only going to be an intellectual relationship, but we'd like a few hours alone each week. And we don't want to be deceptive, so we want you to know and approve of this. So the spouses bought into rationality, know and approve. One thing leads to another. It becomes a full romantic and sexual relationship. And although it's open within these four people, it is not open more broadly. And so in all these meetings of the collective, got Alan Greenspan, all these other people coming up, drinking coffee all night, talking, they all know that Nathaniel Branden is objectivist number one. They don't know that there's a romantic and sexual relationship happening. It's kept a secret. And then when Atlas Shrugged comes out, it's panned by reviewers. People absolutely hate this book. And Rand is not Howard Roark. She falls into a deep depression because her masterpiece has been rejected. And so then the romantic relationship ends, but the close personal relationship continues. And then over time, Branden, who's still married to his wife, begins an affair with another young woman. And at this point, he has started the Nathaniel Branden Institute to teach objectivism. And he's making good money. He's becoming quite famous.
She supported the Institute.
She supported it.
Yeah.
And at first, it was to help her in her depression, because he said, the world needs to recognize your genius. They missed Atlas Shrugged, but I'm going to teach them. I will bring the message. And it's very successful. It becomes its own business. It has a newsletter. It's a whole world. So that small cult around Ayn Rand expands to this whole social network. And it's very much a piece with this burgeoning conservative movement. Objectivists are involved in criticizing the draft. And, there's kind of a libertarian objectivist world going on. All of this is happening. In the meantime, Nathaniel Branden has found a new partner. And he doesn't tell Ayn Rand this because he knows she'll be upset. And so it goes on for years, and Ayn Rand knows something is going on, but she can't quite figure it out. And finally, Barbara Branden says to Nathaniel Branden, you have to tell her. This has just gone on too long. So she finds out, and the whole thing blows up, and she exiles him, and she breaks off contact with him. And nobody has ever told what happens. It's called the objective schism. Objectivism breaks in two, because some people say, how could Ayn Rand do anything wrong? And other people say, what is this letter all about? And what did Nathaniel Branden do? And I'm not just going to take her word for it. I need more information. And then a bunch of people, I've read all the accounts of this. A bunch of people are like, okay, they were having an affair. And a bunch of other people are like, no, that couldn't possibly be happening, And so the whole thing breaks up. But what I, argue in my book is actually this is to the benefit of Rand's ideas, because Rand herself was so controlling over her ideas. And now that she steps back from a public role, objectivism flows into the student libertarian movement. Some objectivists become conservatives. It just kind of spreads out more generally, and you don't have to drink the Kool-Aid. You don't have to take the official course. Nathaniel Branden goes on to be part of the self-esteem movement, sort of human potential movement, California. And Ayn Rand lives, another 10 years or so, but she doesn't do major work after that.